Hello there and welcome to Music is Your Friend. Today I'm gonna recommend the top 5 solid-state amps that you can tour with. Please keep in mind that I'm talking about conventional amps, so I'm not talking about modeling amps, as they have a bunch of sounds that probably don't sound good, although some of them can sound excellent. So I'm talking about conventional solid-state amps that just sound great. I mean, they sound as well as or close to tube amps. Now I'm sure that there will be people that are gonna watch this video and they're gonna say that solid-state amps cannot sound as good as tube amps. They're also probably gonna say, I need a really good sound like Eddie Van Halen. And Eddie Van Halen's most known solo is, as far as I know, played on a solid-state amp. And that's the solo for Beat It by Michael Jackson. So if you want that sound, you actually need a solid-state amp. On top of that, you know, most people that are into tube amps are probably gonna put like a pedal in front of them, and that basically squares off their signal and it effectively makes a solid-state amp. I mean, it's still a tube amp, you know, it's nice and round and fluffy, but the edges are there and those edges are a direct result of the solid-state thingy. So what was the criteria to get on this list? Well, the amp actually needed to be versatile. In order to get on this list, the amp actually needed to make 3 decent sounds. And those sounds are clean, something like a jangly clean that's, you know, good for Fender style tones. It needed to produce 2 more sounds with little or no external help. So the second sound they needed to create was kind of a Marshall-y hard rock tone, something like AC/DC, but you could always, you know, push that AC/DC sound with an overdrive pedal and then you would get like a more traditional metal sound. So the third type of sound that the amp actually needed to make was like a high gain lead sound, or maybe like a high gain rhythm tone that you could use for, say, more modern metal. Also, please keep in mind that I made this list for amps that you can tour with. I'm not talking about, you know, actually like putting an amp next to a drum kit and, you know, the drummer can be a wild maniac and those drums can be huge and he can have like, you know, 24-inch cymbals and, you know, a little like 30-watt amp cannot stack up to like a monster behind the drum kit. I mean, he won't be able to hear you and you won't be able to hear yourself. But it's the 21st century and I'm guessing that, you know, you have PAs now and that you have monitors in front of you if you're playing live at a half-decent club. So you could just mic up this amp and get a decent sound. So you can like sound good through the PA and, you know, if you have a monitor in front of you, the better. Also, I want to point out that, you know, I actually wouldn't recommend buying an amp. I would recommend buying something that can actually produce more quality sounds for less money and setups that are actually hassle-free and they can sound really good with little to like no extra knowledge. You can find out more about these setups if you just click the link that's supposed to, you know, turn up somewhere above my head right about now. Or you can click the link in the description below. If you want to find out more on these amps, just click on the link in the description below and, you know, that's gonna take you to a website that you can actually find more information and buy these amps. Okay, so let's begin. Number 5. BBN Boy. BBN Boy is actually one of PV's coolest amps. It's one of those trans-tube series amps that's basically like a solid state that should kind of emulate a sound of a tube amp. It's a 110 loaded combo and it actually sounds really good. It has foot switchable boost. It has 2 like really cool channels that you can actually program to sound more classic or modern. The only kind of fault that I found with this amp is its speaker, because it's one of those PV Blue Marvel speakers or something and that actually doesn't sound as good. But when you play it, if you feel that you're like, you know, lacking bass or, you know, you're lacking treble or you're lacking middle or there's too much middle or whatever, you could just buy a replacement speaker from, you know, Celestion or Eminence or one of these other companies that actually, you know, has these frequencies that you desire or cuts those frequencies that you hate, and that's it. Number 4. The Roland JC series. The one that sounds the best is the biggest one and I don't actually recommend that you buy that one because it's huge. I mean, it has a huge sound, it sounds really cool and everything, but it's just too much of a hassle to, you know, drag that thing around, and I would recommend getting a smaller amp. Although the amp has jazz in its name, it's actually really good for just about everything. I mean, the clean sound is amazing. James Hetfield uses it live for Metallica, and a whole bunch of other people actually use this amp for, clean only. The distorted sounds that you can get with this amp are also like really cool, and you could probably get there with like an overdrive pedal or a distortion pedal, because these like solid state amps are a really good platform for, pedals. Number 3. The Hughes and Kettner Edition series. There was a couple of these amps floating around in the last a decade or so. Currently they're out of production, but you can still get them. I mean, they're available if you know where to look. Or you could always get used amps online. And these are solid state amps, so it's not like, they're gonna be faulty. These things can really take a beat. So these amps sounded really good. And they came with a 12-inch Celestion that actually made them sound even better. This amp just sounds great for just about anything. Number 2. Tech 21 Trademark Series. If you check out the history of Tech 21 NYC and all of their products, you will see that they're really a forward-thinking company, and you will also probably see that they invented the Sans amp. And Sans amp is a really cool pedal that basically mimics like a Fender, Marshall, and a Mesa Boogie kind of an amp. Every single one of these amp sounds actually has 3 modes, so it has like a clean, a crunchy, and a lead kind of really high gain tone. And it's all like in one single pedal that's about yay big. So Tech 21 actually had all of the components prior to making this amp, so it's basically like that little pedal connected to a solid state amp and put into a box with a speaker. That's it, and it sounds good. And that kind of a design was replicated on some other amps. Behringer B. Basically you have switches on the amp and you can just go click 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 and get like a Fender-y type clean, and then few clicks later you're gonna get like a Mesa high gain tone, and that's it. The problem with this amp is its speaker. It's a 110 design and it's not a Celestion. It's still like a decent speaker, but I would definitely recommend getting an upgrade. Now this amp is great, don't get me wrong, but I actually wouldn't recommend buying it because you have much better options that come from the same company, like getting a fly rig and getting something which is called the Power Engine 60. That thing is basically a solid state power amp that has EQ on it, and you can just plug in your fly rig into that thing and get foot switchable, channels, and the amp is basically the same, and it also comes with a Celestion. The speaker in that Power Engine is a Celestion 7080 speaker, which is kind of a good speaker, but if you want more different tones, I would actually recommend replacing that one as well, because let's just face it, we all like to tinker with our sounds, because speaker replacements are relatively cheap and they're usually the way to go. Before we go on to number 1, I really need to make some honorary mentions of these amps that could be a better option for you depending on what you need and what kind of a sound that you're after, but they didn't make it on my list because I have my reasons. So these amps are Evolution Amber, Orange Crush Pro, the Randall stuff in general, Quilter, the Koch Jupiter, although that's kind of a hybrid, the Joyo Mini Heads, although they're also kind of hybrids, and DV Mark, which is a great Italian company. Then we go on to number 1. It's no surprise, it's the PV Bandit. The PV Bandit has been around from like 1995. It's basically the best amp out of the Transtube series from PV. It sounds really good. You could actually find more PV Bandit models on the market because, they kind of changed over the years, and any one of these amps is like really good. But the newest one is available at any PV dealership, and it's a really good amp to, keep around with you. So they are available and they sound great. The clean channel has like 3 different operating modes and they sound completely different and they sound really cool. The overdrive channel also has like 3 different modes and starting from like a lowest gain, a mid gain, and a high gain setting. It has built-in reverb, same as the younger brother that sits on number 5, the N-Boy. It also has a foot switchable master boost, and that's really cool because you can get like a lead boost by just using the foot switch, and that's it. It's a pretty big amp, you can find the effects loop in the back. You could also hook it up to like external cabinets, but I don't actually recommend that. I just recommend that you replace the Blue Marvel, which is inside the speaker cabinet. If you just buy it, just play it for a couple of weeks and just get a feel for it. Check out like what frequencies are missing or what frequencies you have that you don't actually like, and buy a speaker that can match those requests. But before you do that, check out the damping switch on the back. because that damping switch can actually change the the character of the sound drastically, and the speaker will behave differently. So use it. And on top of that, check out the power level switch in the back, because you can get some like low wattage sounds, because when you cut down on wattage, you cut down on volume. When you cut down on volume, the speaker reacts really differently. So the combination of these two switches can actually make a whole different sound than the amp on like full volume, full watts, and full damping. And that's about it. If you want to find out more on these amps, just click on the link in the description below, and that's gonna take you to a website that you can actually find more information and buy these amps. Please subscribe to this channel if you like this video. The red button is like right below here, and please check out my other amp videos, because you might find something that you actually enjoy or prefer more than these amps. Try to get the best sound you can for your budget. In the end, it's all about the music, and music is your friend. So choose your friends wisely. Me and Albert are out of here, and subscribe, and see you soon.